Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I have some slow burn romance recs for you, so let's just get right into the books. So the first book I want to talk about today is The Chase by Elle Kennedy. This is the first book in the Briar U series, which is the spin-off of the Off-Campus series. I feel like everyone has heard of these books. This one follows a girl who has moved in with a bunch of boys and they are on the hockey team. These are all hockey romances. And there's sort of two that she's kind of bouncing back and forth between, I guess, at the beginning. And she does pick one. This isn't like a reverse harem or anything like that. And it follows her and this guy. And I feel like this one was like a really slow burn because it follows her sort of dealing with her feelings about the other guy. And then also sort of forming this friendship with the guy she ends up getting with. And them they really sort of have like I guess a friends to lovers evolution. It's very slow where they're sort of hanging out doing homework together and they're helping each other with different things, and that's sort of how their relationship starts building. It doesn't really start out as them being together, and I really love this one. I really love the guy in this book. He is like a big dork and I just really love that. I thought he was really cool, and so this one is a good one for this. This one is actually, I know this is like, I try to keep these videos very like recent to the books I recently read. This was actually on my list for the last time I filmed this video and I somehow missed it, so I'm just throwing it in this video. So this is going to be the only book that is like one of the older ones I read, I guess. Next is Only When It's Us by Chloe Liese. This is the first book in the Bergman Brothers series, which is a companion series about the Bergman siblings. And this first one follows a guy who is deaf, who is in this college class, and this girl who is a soccer player, and she sort of thinks this guy's a jerk because she needs notes for this class because she misses a couple because of her soccer schedule, and she asks the professor, and the professor's like, look, I'm not giving you notes, like just ask the person that sits beside you. And so she does. She goes and she asks this guy, hey, like, can you give me the notes or whatever, and he just totally ignores her, but she obviously doesn't know he's deaf. He literally didn't hear her, so they sort of get off on the wrong foot where she thinks this guy is just a big jerk. He can't figure out why she hates him, and they end up getting paired together for an assignment and have to work together. And there's definitely like a little bit of enemies to lovers in this one because obviously like she's kind of mad at him, he doesn't know why, and they're kind of just like not really interested in each other, and then it sort of grows slowly over the course of the book. I really enjoy this whole series. Most of them actually probably in the series would be considered slow burn, but this one is one of my favorites. Another one from this series that, like I said, most of them are slow burn, but another one that is my favorite is the second book, which is Always Only You. This one follows a hockey player who ends up dating, I believe she's like the social media consultant or manager or something like that for the team, and the team has a rule about like inter-dating, like employees dating the hockey players, so they can't be together, but this guy is like obsessed with her and he is so in love and so wholesome and so sweet, and he's like the definition of like a cinnamon roll guy. And this one also super slow burn because they're kind of trying not to get together because he's still on the team, she's still working for the team, and they're kind of trying to figure out the logistics of that. So definitely another slow burn. Like I said, most in the series are, but these are two of my favorites. Next is Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. This book follows a girl who works in a retirement village, and the relationship ends up being between, I believe it's the owner of the retirement village's son or grandson or something like that. And so he's somehow related to the owner, and she is an employee. He ends up coming there to work as well. And I think this one is another one that really follows that sort of slow moving plot of like becoming friends and then becoming more than that, but it's definitely like really slow. Like I don't think they get together till like the end of this book, and so that one is definitely another slow burn. Next is Twice Shy by Sarah Hogle. This is a book about a girl who inherits a house and she plans to go and renovate it, and when she gets there she finds out that the groundskeeper has actually also inherited a part of the house, so they basically both own half of it, and he wants to buy her out, but she's like, nope, I'm staying. And they kind of get on each other's nerves. He's super quiet and shy and reserved, and she just like thinks he kind of hates her. Definitely a slow burn. They're working on this house kind of at the same time, deciding what they're going to do with it. I really, really love this one more than I thought I would. I didn't love You Deserve Each Other by the same author, but this one I thought was really, really good and definitely would recommend, especially for if you're looking for a slow burn book. Definitely a good one because, like I said, they're working on this house the whole time, the tension's kind of building between them, and then they finally obviously get together at the end, which is really cute. Next is Love Unexpected by QB Tyler. Like all QB Tyler books, this book is definitely very forbidden and taboo and like not something you'd see in real life. This one follows a girl who ends up dating her stepfather, and basically it sounds like really crazy. I know, like I totally get that. I would never pick this up based on just that piece of information. But basically the story follows a girl who sees this guy when she's a kid and is just like instantly like, oh, I'm in love with him. But her mom ends up marrying him, and so he's kind of around her whole life, but not really. Like, he never adopts her. He's not her dad. And he's just, like, married to her mom. And then her mom ends up dying right when she is about to turn 18. I feel like most of QB Tyler's books deal with girls that are just about to turn 18. And she's kind of like, okay, the mom's gone. They're both grieving, and they both kind of, you know, lean on each other, I guess, and a relationship sort of grows from there. But it definitely is very slow burn because they're very sort of hesitant to pursue it, because obviously it's not going to look great if he starts dating this girl that was essentially his daughter. But they're obviously also not related, and like I said, she never viewed him as a dad or anything, so it's a little bit less weird. But this was like definitely one of the weirder QB Tyler books, I think. But it does fit into the slow burn category because, like I said, they're very hesitant to sort of actually get together, so there's a lot building in this one up until the point that they get together. Next is Stolen Heir by Sophie Lark. This is the second book in the Brutal Birthright series. This is one of my favorites from the series. It follows a girl who is kidnapped by a guy who is trying to split two families apart. Basically, he thinks by kidnapping this girl, he's going to start a war between these two families, but he ends up not really accomplishing that. So he's kidnapped this girl, and she is just like living in his house with him, and at first he's like, great, I've got this girl here, she's super annoying, blah, blah, blah. But like very, very slowly she starts growing on him, and then obviously more of their relationship develops over time. I really love like a good like kidnapping romance. That sounds really weird, but I just really love those books. I always find that they are some of the best because you have like these guys who you sort of look at and you're like, okay, who would you ever fall in love with? And then there's this girl who's just kind of forced to be there, and of course he falls for her. I just love that whole like dynamic. And so this one is another really good slow burn. Next is A Favor for a Favor by Helena Hunting. This is part of the All In series. They are all standalones. I believe this is the second one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Maybe this is the... No, this isn't the first one. This has got to be the second one. So this one follows a guy who is on the hockey team, obviously, and he lives across the hallway from his captain's apartment. And he sees this girl one night trying to get into his apartment, and he's like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you're not his wife. I know his wife, and you're not her. And he thinks that this guy is cheating on his wife with this girl. And she's like, I'm not going to tell you anything. Like, I don't even know you. Like, why would I tell you why I'm here? And she goes into the apartment, and he's like, well, that was super weird, but like not really any of my business. So he just sort of stays out of it. But he keeps running into this girl, and they just sort of keep seeing each other. And it turns out that this girl is the team captain's younger sister, and that is why she's there. And so this guy's just like been super rude to her, and when he finds out that it's the captain's younger sister, he's like, oh my god, I can't believe I was so rude to her, like she's totally gonna tell him and whatever. And this one is really cute. Like I said, it's definitely got the slow burn. He ends up getting injured and needs someone to help rehab him, and she, I guess, is some sort of physical therapist or something, and she helps him, and that's sort of where their relationship begins. But like I said, super slow burn. And then once he finds out, you know, that she's the sister, he doesn't want to get anywhere near her. And I really, really love this whole series. So this one is definitely a good one. Like I said, super slow burn because they're trying to avoid getting together because of the brother. Next is Home Game by Odette Stone. This is the second book in the Vancouver Wolves series, which is another hockey series, which I really enjoy. This one follows a guy who is sitting in a coffee shop trying to sort out his receipts for his accountant. And he's just getting really frustrated at it. He's not really doing it properly and doesn't know what he's doing. And this girl is sitting behind him, sort of looking over his shoulder, and she can see what he's doing wrong. So she says to him, hey, you should really be doing this instead of that. And he's like, oh my gosh, like, thanks, can you help me out? And she's like, yeah, I can stay for a little bit and help you. So she stays with him, and then all of a sudden she's panicking, like, oh my god, I have to get out of here, I'm late. And he's like, hold up, let me drive you, I'll take you wherever you need to go. And she ends up, he drops her off outside of a homeless shelter, and she goes and she gets turned away because they only let people in before 8 o'clock. It's now after 8 o'clock, so they don't let her in, and she's like, great, I'm just gonna have to go sit in a 24-hour diner all night and basically try to sleep there. So she starts walking, and he pulls up beside her, and he's just like, whoa, what just happened? And she tells him, and he's like, well, why don't you come stay with me for tonight? And she does, and she sort of stays with him indefinitely until she can save up enough money to get out. And so she is with him, and they're sort of living together just sort of as like roommates. They're not even really friends at the beginning. They're just like randomly met in this coffee shop. I really like this one. Definitely a slow burn. Like there's definitely the progression from like random stranger living in her house, in his house, to, you know, then friends and then more. It's very slow burn. Really, really love this one. The guy in this one is so sweet. I really loved him. And lastly is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This is a witchy rom-com, obviously, that follows a girl who has magic, but in this world they believe that witches shouldn't live near each other. So she's sort of very isolated from everyone that's like her, and she doesn't have really any friends or anything because she can't talk about this like huge part of her life with them, and yet she can't live near the people who she can talk about it with. So she makes these YouTube videos where she pretends to be a witch and does all these little videos figuring that, you know, she can't talk to real people about being a witch. She'll just pretend for the people on the internet, and then she'll at least feel like she's talking to someone. So she does that, and this guy ends up seeing it, and he can just like tell that she's a real witch, and he sends her a letter, and he's like, we've got 3 young witches we need a tutor for, and we need you to come to this house and help us tutor them. And she's like, that's weird, why would there be 3 witches together, and how do they know that I'm a real witch? And she's kind of like, this is kind of sketchy, but like, you know what, I'm gonna go because what the heck. So she goes, and she ends up moving into this house with these 2 guys, and there's 2 guys that are a couple that are older, and then there's a guy who is 35, who's around her age, who is the librarian, and he's super grumpy. He's the one she ends up falling for, and it's very slow burn because he is sort of like the 3 girls. He's like their main guardian, basically. Like, he looks after them and is been like in charge of taking care of them up until the point that she arrives, and she sort of takes over a lot of the things for them. And so he's super protective, doesn't want her around, doesn't think she's gonna be able to help them, and it's a very slow progression of him opening up to her and realizing that maybe she can help them and maybe she's not, you know, like as terrible as he thought she was gonna be. And this one is really cute, definitely a good like Halloween spooky season book, but you could like literally read this anytime, obviously, but it's a super good one. And so that is everything for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I do new book videos every single week, and I will see you next time.